I'm starting out this build by using some pressure treated 2x lumber for the base of this coop. And I'm going to try to cut off any checks that are on the ends of this lumber so that I can keep it nice and clean. I lined all the boards up and then put a clamp to keep them nice and tight because I'm going to be doing a half lap joint for this. Now, I happen to have a black belt in Bushido. If you don't, by all means, do this the old-fashioned way. It's just going to take longer. That hawk is out here right now. Listen to the chickens. Where's he at? Huh? Where's he at? He got you all upset. When the hawks found us last year, we built the run addition onto our original coop. And during the cold months, we kept the chickens in the run until the afternoon when the predator pressure was low. But it was bound to happen. Kim saw something out the window and was like, "Oh my gosh, Adam, is that a..." It is! It's a hawk! Not one, but two hawks actually. We herded the chickens into the coop and we've barely been able to let them out for months, always having between 1 and 3 hawks in the backyard. They know a buffet when they see one. The base of this chicken coop is going to be 6 foot by 12 foot, and I'm just using these decking screws to hold everything together. As I start on the walls, I'm going to try to avoid any crazy warped lumber. Now, for these, I'm not using pressure treated because this is all going to get paint on it anyway, and this is not going to contact the ground. Eventually, the sand gnats were just eating me up, so I took it inside. Okay, man. The board who lived, come to die. With all the lumber for the walls cut, it's time to start drilling pocket holes. A lot of pocket holes. I gotta tell you, when you're doing projects like this though, pocket holes are the way to go. They are an incredible time saver, even though it can get a little tedious when you gotta drill like 500 of them. I got a glue booger. Where should I put this now? I'll just put it down here with the regular ones. I'm using a clamp because if you're not familiar with it, whenever you use pocket hole joinery, the screws are going in at an angle and they tend to pull the board a little in the direction that the screw is headed. So by clamping everything together, it keeps everything nice and tight. Hello, my love.
Hello.
Have you come looking for mayonnaise?
No.
Would you like to help?
Are you filming right now?
I'm filming right now, yes, you're on video. Actually, you're not on video, but you're almost on video. Would you like to be on video? You still got your JJs on? Okay. Well, be gone. Be gone, unless you want to help. Okay, alright. Love you. Love you. Bye-bye now. Now that both the base and the walls are assembled, I want to go ahead and paint the base and the bottom of the walls before I attach them. With the walls screwed to each other but not attached to the base yet, I went ahead and measured corner to corner to make sure that everything was square. Then I went ahead and finished putting the screws in to connect the walls to the base. I'm going to use 3/4 inch exterior grade plywood to cut out and build what will be the storage box, and the storage box will actually be the base for the nesting boxes that hang off the end of the chicken coop. After hitting everything with a stapler, again, I'm going to use decking screws to hold everything tight. Anything that's going to be either hard to reach later or is going to be covered, I'm going to go ahead and paint along the way so that I know it's sealed from the weather. Come on. Finally, it dawned on me I could use a couple clamps to pull the boards together to take a little of the tension off and give me just enough room to slide this box in. Then I started framing for the actual coop portion of the coop/run. 24 hours later. So this is where pre-planning comes in handy, because last night I put this board in and I left just enough space because I thought I was being really smart to put the sheathing on the back here. But what I didn't remember was that I needed to leave enough room to attach the hardware cloth. So once the sheathing goes on right there, it's going to be flush with this. And there's not going to be any room to put the hardware cloth on. So I'm going to have to move this. I always start off drawing the plans out, and then I go try to mess with SketchUp a little bit. I really got to learn how to use that better. And then I get impatient and I'm like, I'll just wing it. You know, I'll figure it out as I go along. But when you do that, you run into issues like this where you have to redo stuff. But so be it. Luckily, I put a lot of glue on there, so. I'm using 3/8 inch rough sawn exterior siding to build the nesting boxes, but the 3/8 inch is a little thin. I'm not sure how well that's going to hold up, so I'm going to go ahead and double these up. Waste not, want not. All right, who wants the long roller and who wants the short roller?
Mine. Okay. Okay.
Everybody get up.
Now I just have to figure out the roof trusses. I'm gonna lay that out on this sheet of 1/2 inch plywood. I know that my coop is 6 feet wide and I want the peak of the roof to be 2 feet taller than the sides. So let's get to laying out. I'm just gonna use my track saw track as a straight edge. I'll go to that mark. And I need to measure out this. Where'd you go?
Post office.
What do you have?
Nothing.
What do you have?
Nothing.
Nothing? Nothing?
What?
What? Why is it chirping?
Nothing.
What? A few moments later.
Oh.
The chicken coop is to protect the chickens that we currently have, and then you
Yes.
went and got more chickens.
Yes.
So now what are we gonna do?
I'll figure it out.
With a wrench thrown in my plans, I went ahead and proceeded figuring out the trusses and cutting those out. I hate doing the same thing over and over again, and this took the better part of the day. I was sick of it. Let's get it up there and see how it looks. Not bad. Now I just need a bunch more. Yeah, see, that's easy. I couldn't help thinking about how we now had 2 flocks of chickens that needed to be safe from hawks. A bold move was needed. I'd like to thank you for agreeing to meet with me today. About the chickens, they mean a lot to my wife. Could we come to an agreement, terms, you know, you'll leave the chickens alone? Good talk. That was really weird. I thought for sure he'd have a British accent. While I wait to hear back from the hawks, I'm gonna go ahead and build all of the doors for the coop. I cut some 2x4s down to 2.5 inches wide, and again, I'm just using pocket hole joinery to connect everything. These doors are going to have an X pattern in them, and instead of taking a bunch of measurements, I just laid out the piece of wood that's going to create the X, marked the center, and laid it corner to corner, and that made it so much easier and faster and required no figuring to figure out how to make these fit perfect. These pieces are going to overlap in the center, so I took them over to the miter saw, and using the stop on the miter saw, I was able to set the depth, and then I just kind of went in and cut everything out so I could do my half lap. Nice. So lovely, so lovely. I just love it. All right, let's get some siding on this coop. Again, this is 3/8 inch rough sawn siding. Honestly, I went with this because I thought it would have a good look, but mostly because it was on the cheaper side. Now you may have noticed that this siding didn't completely cover the end of the coop here. I've got that space, and that's because I'm going to cover that with a trim board later. I did this because I was trying to save on wood. And then on the inside there, I'll run a 1x piece, and that will seal up that seam. I'll explain this cutout later. For the door panels of this chicken coop, I'm also using the 3/8 inch rough sawn siding, and I'm giving it a coat of American walnut stain. I'll go back and I'll actually put a clear sealer over that later as well. Here you can see that trim board that I was telling you about. That covers up that gap, and I went ahead and trimmed out the rest of the coop as well at this same time. To hold the panels in place on the door, I'm actually using a framing points gun. This is the same thing you use literally when framing photos or mirrors. It works perfect, and it'll leave room for any movement. Got a wee bit of a problem. This door is made to fit into this door, and then these hinges are supposed to go up here. But that's not the right type of hinge to do that. See how that's not flat on the bottom? So if you mount it there, well, let's just lay it there. You can see how that won't lay flat. So I'm either gonna have to get new hinges, or I'm gonna have to do it the right way, which is like that. That would look better. It's just, do I want to take the time to do it? No, I do not. These threaded inserts are to hold these threaded bolts, which will be a stop so that when I want to just add some ventilation to the doors, these will hold the secondary middle part of the door open. In order for that to work though, I've got to put some wire mesh on the back, or the chickens or, you know, raccoons or whatever are just going to pass through that opening. I thought it would be an excellent idea to just stack all of the roof panels and cut them all at one time with my cutoff wheel. It was not an excellent idea. It has no power. It's the Hawks. They must have their answer for me. Are they gonna leave?
Well, there's no problem. If you had a gun, shoot him in the head.
After getting washed up, I went ahead and finished installing the rest of the roofing panels, and to line all of the screws up, I just ran a string down the whole length of the roof. Now I can finally start adding the hardware cloth to everything, and I highly recommend you go with the black vinyl coated hardware cloth. It costs just barely more than the standard stuff, but it is so much easier to work with, and it looks a lot better, in my opinion, because the black basically makes it disappear. If you use the standard hardware cloth, it is super stiff. Now the downside is you can get wrinkles in this if you aren't careful. Look at Kim having to fight these sand gnats. I can't believe the mesh didn't keep them out. I'm applying a bead of Loctite construction adhesive, the Power Grab. I love this stuff. This is where I'm going to put the floor of the coop, and I'm using a sheet of PVC since that will be waterproof and will be easy to clean. I hope. That's the plan anyway. Now I can start attaching all of the doors. And let me just also say, I love these self-centering drill bits. I'd also like to point out at this time that if you're interested in plans for this build, you can go to the HAXMAN.com where you won't find plans, but you can buy awesome HAXMAN merch and help feed a HAXMAN child. I'm using these gravity latches to keep all the openings of this chicken coop locked down. I actually like the silver roof on this chicken coop a lot more than I thought. Unfortunately, things had been set in motion that could not be undone. You see, a few days ago, I did a vinegar and water wash on all of these roofing panels and a light scrubbing. And that was to prep them for paint. And as you can see, they had already begun to rust. So I had no choice. However, I gotta say, I do love this color. It is so lovely. I'm going to be putting this automatic chicken door on the coop part of this coop/run because, unlike our other coop, I don't have the hardware cloth on the bottom to keep predators out. Here's our little solar panel, and unfortunately, the cable doesn't disconnect. I mean, I could cut it and rewire it, but I don't really want to do that. I'm just going to screw this so that it faces out up underneath here behind the wire. And hopefully that'll give it enough light. I think it will. I don't think it requires much.
You gotta tidy that up a little bit. That looks like a spider. It's gonna freak
Don't
me
look
out.
at it.
Yeah, it's gonna freak them out too, though. That's creepy. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. That's how it should look. Thank you.
Had you forgotten about our random square hole in the side? Yep, that's right. I'm putting an RV ventilation fan in there. And to power that fan, I'm adding solar power to the roof of the chicken coop.
Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. And I say, it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. And I say, it's alright.
You may have seen me install this box earlier. It was to hold this battery bank, and the battery bank takes the input from the solar panel and it powers the fan. Just like that. Ooh, it's lovely. And you can't even hear it. That's on the first setting. It is absolutely silent. I've got 71 watts coming in and a massive 3 watts going out. But I'm not done keeping those chickens cool yet because, well, I'll show you in a second. I'm going to put these fittings on here. This is just some CPVC pipe, and it's got a threaded end on each end of it. That is for a hose connection. And what is that hose for? Yes, that's right. We're adding a misting system to keep those little cluckers cool all summer long. So I have way more emitter line than I need, and at first I was like, I don't know how to do this because it didn't come with any instructions. But I looked up online and there's a little picture and there's this little thing right here, and if I push it in, I hope this works. Oh yeah, okay, then I can just pull that right out. And then I'll come to the end. Oh yeah, and see then there's this little plug right there, and I'll push that in. Maybe. Push that in. Push that in. Push that in. Oh, there comes the plug. Okay, so then I can just, ta-da. I really hope that works. Yeah, all right, plug is in. So that'll be the end of the line right there. It's the end of the line. And just because I want it to be extra, you know, I went ahead and added a sunshade to one side of the chicken coop. But it still has room below it for the breeze to blow through.
Here. So go.
I'm using a flap sander on my disc grinder to go ahead and just kind of rough up the 2x4s that I cut down for the roosting bars. And basically I just put an uneven edge over the whole thing to help prevent bumblefoot with the chickens. To get this coop moving and turn it into a tractor that can easily be moved, I went down to my local Harbor Freight and bought 4 of these trailer jacks, 3,500 pound capacity. This is nowhere near that, and this is going to be one of these at each corner. I called up my friend who has a giant metalworking shop and asked him if he could get his guys to weld up some brackets on these for me. And this is what I picked up. So here is the original jack, just this part right here, and then they welded on these 2 arms and the bracket there on the end, which will let me bolt it to the chicken coop. But first, I gotta get some paint on these. Then I need to drill out 4 holes on the bottom of each of the jack legs so that I can attach these wheels to each jack. In order to get those L brackets to fit tight, I kind of had to take this radius down and make it bigger. And again, I just used a flat sander on each corner of the chicken coop. And then I applied another layer of paint. All right, so I'm gonna need you to hold the wrench inside underneath there, okay?
Really?
Yeah, really. Top one. Bottom one.
Oh, that was pretty.
$1 million question. Will 4 3,100 pound jacks lift this chicken coop? I sure hope so. In the summer, we can leave the doors ventilated like they are. Then, when it gets cool, we'll just take out these bolts and then we can drop the door down and close them up and keep all the wind off of them. Every morning, we can come out and right here, reach into the nesting boxes and get breakfast. And we'll just put a carabiner on all these gravity latches to keep any raccoons or ne'er-do-wells from getting in there. Almost forgot to try out the misting system. Let's see how well it works. Oh, it's starting. It's starting. The 3 things that I would have changed. Number 1, I would have used a better paint. It took a lot of paint. We used 3 gallons on this and we had to do multiple coats. So a better paint would have sped that up and probably saved us some money. The second thing also has to do with paint. I wish I'd have put a drop cloth down before we painted this thing because now I got to figure out how to clean our driveway. I wish I'd have went with a bigger tire and a pneumatic tire. This is an 8-inch wheel on here and it's a solid rubber one, which I thought was good because then I don't lose pressure. But we just got a bunch of rain and our ground is really soft, so it's kind of a booger to roll around out here. I would definitely replace these with 12 inchers and pneumatic so that it can really absorb the bumps and roll over everything. Okay, but I still don't understand, how are you going to protect both flocks?
Oh, I hired some muscle.
If you enjoyed this video, you will love this video, and I will see you next time.